So, how many participants have you got, Janice?
Just a moment. I'm just loading up my live stream. I think most everybody's here, John, but
okay.
a sec.
Can you hear me?
I have 14 participants.
Okay. Alrighty. I'd like to call this.
Diane.
Okay, good.
I'd like to call. All right. I'm going. I'd like to call this meeting to order and recognize that we are in the territories of the Nuu-chah-nulth people across Vancouver Island here, and ask for an approval of the agenda. Okay, we got Tanya and I only see one hand up there, all right, and Diane. Okay, and first of all, we have a presentation on the organics collection option by our new employee here. Once I get this back up here, Jody Frank, who we have not met online yet, but here you are. So take it away.
Thank you. So just give me a moment to share my screen here. All right, so thanks everybody for giving me the opportunity today to speak with you regarding the implementation plan for curbside organics and to bring forward the proposed options for 3-stream curbside collection. So the objectives of today's presentation is to go over the key components of the organic implementation plan, as well as to give you an overview of the current curbside waste collection services, to discuss the proposed options for the new curbside service delivery, and to go over a little bit of what we've done with preparations for engagement planning, and then to discuss some other considerations as well. And then to wrap it up, we'll discuss next steps and go over any questions you might have. So today's presentation will introduce the implementation plan for the City of Port Alberni as part of the Regional Organics Diversion Project. I would like to provide you with some detailed information, including a benefit analysis and cost estimates for each service delivery model for your consideration. So before I get into the details about the City of Port Alberni and the implementation plan, I'll briefly go over the Regional Organics Program. So the current priorities for implementing the Regional Organics Program are the following. So phase 1 will look at the City of Port Alberni implementing in spring 2021. Phase 2 will look at the West Coast implementation spring 2022. And phase 3 will look at the Alberni Valley, Bamfield, the remaining electoral areas and First Nations communities, and looking at bringing them on board spring to fall 2022. So the work currently underway for the City of Port Alberni. So this summer, some of the work we've been doing is a lot of the project planning. So developing the program parameters, developing the scope of what the project will look like, researching processing options that will be feasible for the local area in the City of Port Alberni. We've been drafting some tender documents for procurement of the collection carts and what that'll look like, and also looking at the various collection options for the new waste services. This has been done in collaboration with the City of Port Alberni and looking at internal and external third-party capacities and capabilities. We've also looked at existing contracts to see where synergies lie and where we have different contracts in place. Those exist with our recycling contract and Recycle BC. So we're looking at those contracts to really determine the best approach forward for curbside collection and the new service. We've also done some engagement planning. So looking at a draft engagement plan and what that'll look like. So once we've determined the future direction of collection and the service delivery model, we'll move into the implementation planning phase. So that's that middle piece there that you see in the presentation. And that's really putting the big pieces of the puzzle together. So that's really launching a finalized public engagement strategy and a comms plan. And once we've released RFPs, it's important to have those key messages in place to address any public inquiries. We'll continue with drafting tender documents such as the processing facility, and that'll include receiving proposals and awarding contracts. Lastly, we'll be working with the selected contractors to ensure that there's compliance with the OMAR regulations, and then also providing input into any operation plans, which are also requirements through OMAR. And then looking at 2021 with the rollout of the new service. So we'll continue obviously with the pre-launch engagement and education. So as you can tell, engagement really goes from the pre to right until we roll out, communicating continuously with our residents. And then we'll distribute the new carts and launch the new service 2021. And we're hoping that phase 1, so City of Port Alberni will somewhat act as a pilot for phase 3 when we roll out to the Alberni Valley and Bamfield areas, using our success and data measures to support the implementation of the new waste service for those areas. So as I've mentioned, we've drafted a bit of an engagement plan and we're working on a few comms pieces. So this is one for an example that basically gives you the composition of waste still going to landfill for the City of Port Alberni. So food and yard waste currently make up about 30% of what is still going to the landfill on average for Port Alberni residents. So looking at the composition of recyclables and compostable material, our waste diversion rate right now is sitting at about 20%. Increasing our diversion capabilities and taking that food waste out, we can really push that up to 50%. So that's what the top piece of this graphic is telling us. Also, by eliminating organics from the waste stream will also help the city move closer to the provincial waste reduction target of 350 kgs of waste generated per person. Right now, the City of Port Alberni and Alberni Valley are sitting at a waste consumption rate of 589 kgs per person. And we've also set a regional district target of 400 kgs per person. So we really want to bring that 589 down to either meet the regional or provincial target. Furthermore, organics diversion will also help prolong the life of our landfill. So with a curbside organics program, we have the capability of adding an additional 35 years to our landfill lifespan. So taking that to 2020. And then also, as we've all heard, taking those organic pieces out of the landfill also helps reduce the greenhouse gases that are emitted into our airspace. So now we'll take a look at what the current curbside waste services look like. The current garbage collection service is offered by and operated by the City of Port Alberni, and waste garbage collection is collected from approximately 6,900 single-family households. So that's garbage and recycling. Garbage material right now is collected at the curb with a cart-based automatic arm collection system, whereas curbside recycling is contracted through the ACRD on a biweekly basis through a third-party contractor. The collection service for recycling is done manually, which is different than the garbage service. So basically the driver exits the vehicle and picks up the material and tips it into the hopper of the truck. So the question is, in 2021 with curbside organics, who will collect this material and how will it be collected? And bringing on a new service is an opportune time to consider the switch to an automatic cart collection system. So doing a scan from our local communities, it's indicated that when bringing on an organics program is usually the time when various communities are bringing on the automatic system, so switching to a full 3-stream cart system from a manual, and that's just due to a number of factors. So one, that's the industry direction that it's headed. And that's basically because of increasing safety issues. So manual collection, there's a lot of repetitive motion, and because you're exiting the trucks, there's been an increase of slip, trips, and falls based on the manual collection process. So here we look at City of Port Alberni's collection fleet. So they're outfitted with 3 of the 2018 Freightliner trucks. They have a 60-40 compartment split. And so what this means is that basically there's 2 segregated areas. That means that these trucks can collect multiple streams at once. So for example, you can have 2 carts out, one cart collecting garbage, one collecting organics, and they're dumped into the same truck. So this increases the operational efficiencies because of the elimination of manual involvement, and the truck can achieve more pickups in the same time frame with fewer trucks on the road, which also lowers those GHGs that when you have more trucks, you're increasing that volume. So some local examples here, City of Nanaimo operates the split trucks with a 3-stream collection, as well as the regional district of Nanaimo is moving to an automatic system where they're using the split trucks as well. So our picture to the left demonstrates the waste collection as it is now. And the neat thing is the capabilities of the City of Port Alberni fleet. So like I mentioned, they have that capability to do the dual pickup. So we had the opportunity to take a little photo so we can give you a visual or a video here. So just bear with me and hopefully this works. Great. So if you notice where the pause was and that flap that changed over, that's where that split compartment. So the garbage gets dumped and then that flap will move over and then it'll open up to the recycling side. Sorry. All right. So that was the current system. So now we'll go over the service options that were proposed in the report. So option 1 considers a 3-stream automatic cart system. And this could be picked up or collected by City of Port Alberni drivers and their fleet, which can be fulfilled, like I mentioned, with that split truck capability. Option 2 would look at moving to a cart system for organics and garbage that would be collected by the City of Port Alberni, and then continuing with a third-party contractor for the recycling. So our proposed plan here is for frequency purposes, organics would move to a weekly pickup, and then recycling and garbage would alternate on a biweekly schedule. So here, when we look at the options, option 1 being the full 3-stream city collection, we're looking at a annual price of $180 per household. And then option 2, with waste and organics collection done by the city, and then contracting out the recycling, we're looking at an increase of about $192 per household annually. Now, option 3, based on the increased costs and our intention to increase operational efficiencies and to improve our service delivery, we have recommended that option 3 not be given further consideration as an option. So to do a bit of an analysis between the options, I'll just go over some of the advantages and disadvantages. So main advantages here with the 3-stream carts is that the city can maintain an increased control of collection and service delivery across all 3 streams. The split truck capabilities, like I mentioned before, will allow organics to be picked up weekly, garbage and recycling alternating on a bi-weekly basis. It allows us to have a more centralized operations, having full control over the 3 streams, and then increased operational efficiency. So with our trucks being able to pick up multiple streams at once, just really increases our operations. And again, it eliminates the need for an extra contracted truck to be on the road. And it allows us to maintain control over collection schedules and frequencies. So in the instance we may need to change collection, we do have that control over that option. It also supports the collection methodologies that other local areas and districts have position to. And as if you may have seen in Appendix B, it kind of gave you the breakdown of who's doing automatic and or the manual system. So some of the disadvantages of option 1 are additional trips to the landfill to empty. Because you have half capacity of each stream, it does mean that they may be going to the landfill more frequently. It may result in an increase of contamination. So feedback from Recycle BC, and I'll go into this a little bit further on into the presentation, but because of the cart system and the closed lid, sort of the out of sight, out of mind, and not having the manual collection driver screen, statistics show that cart collection systems just typically have more contamination. Another disadvantage is that the trucks will require additional seals or bladders. This is just to prevent that organic leachate from contaminating the recycling stream. That's that's normal. And additional staff will be required as a result with the increased working hours, and there'll also be an increase of maintenance required on the trucks. They're driving more, so it equals more maintenance, and we're looking at approximately 25% more. And then there might be a cost increase for the recycling transfer. All right, so this is what, from a resident's perspective, the 3-cart system could look like from a sorting perspective. And so the benefits here too are that these bins can be stored outside, and they're protected from the weather and the rain. So that's an additional benefit for residents concerned about taking up space in the house. They can be stored outside, which is a benefit as well. So option 2, Again, this is City of Port Alberni collecting garbage and organics, and then looking at a contractor to pick up recycling. So this could continue to be collected as a manual separate service. We could look at Multistream. So that's why you see the 2 bins there. So separating the mixed paper and fibers from containers, so plastic packaging and aluminum. From Recycle BC, there is an increased incentive for Multistream. So that is an option we could go with as an advantage. And this type of recycling, so the Multistream, typically have the lowest contamination rates for recycling. Some of the disadvantages with this option is that there would be an offset in labor requirements, because we'd be moving to organics weekly and then garbage biweekly. There would be that offset on that biweekly frequency. We wouldn't have as much opportunity for that centralized operation for the 3 stream with contracting out the recycling. And it could be a new sorting behavior for residents, sorting out the paper material from the containers if we were to go down that route. And then we would still be manually collecting recycling. So some local examples of Multistream. So the image on your left is Saanich. So as you can see, the mixed paper is typically bagged just to keep it dry. And then the containers are separated. And then the image to your right is a Vancouver example. So again, that paper fiber is bagged, and then the other items are separated. So from here, I will pass it on to Andrew, just to go over the financial side of the waste collection service options.
Thank you, Jody. So with the City of Port Alberni, looking at our costing and where this aligns with our goals and objectives, the ACRD is taking on this initiative, and the City of Port Alberni has been very supportive of this initiative. In fact, the City of Port Alberni has it as a specific goal and strategy in our 2019-2023 corporate strategic plan. Many of the communities across the island have seen a organic diversion collection in their community, and we can hopefully learn from those experiences that we see in other communities. And with commingled yard waste, which is being proposed in this option, with our kitchen organics, this helps support some of the bylaws that we have in place, as far as the burning bylaw that we have, the backyard burning bylaw, and also improved organic diversion, rather than having to go out to the landfill or dump your yard waste at the back of your alley or at the end of the roads. We can start diverting this through the organic collection process. So the current cost of service for the average household in the City of Port Alberni has not changed since we introduced the automatic carts in 2012. At that time, it was $98 for the cost of collection for our garbage service. And that's the only service that we provide. Obviously, the ACRD provides the collection of the recyclables at this time. But it is one of the lowest costs for waste collection across the island. But understanding that this is a lower level of service, because many other communities have either organic diversion for kitchen and yard waste, or they have just yard waste collection within their service offerings. So at this time, we do not fully cover the cost of the organic or the garbage service that we provide. We are currently about 75% of the actual costs incurred for our collection service. And that's based on the utility bills that we send out to the residents. So the rest of that is made up through the taxation that we do annually through the City of Port Alberni. So when we bring forward any changes, I think we need to keep that in mind as far as cost recovery, and that is another strategic goal and priority that Council has, is that we provide services, and those who use those services will will be paying for those services. So that's something that we would have to bring forward, and likely within our recommendation to council in September would include that full cost recovery. Also noting that the equipment replacement fund reserve includes the contribution in our cost recovery currently for carts, and it doesn't include the truck replacement that we do every 6 years. So that has to be included in the cost, and that's why we see $180 as far as the cost for the service at this time in our estimate. So yes, there will be additional costs with organics. The tipping fee will go up. We will be diverting more waste or tipping more waste because the organic, if we include yard waste, will be a new stream of waste that we're providing. Also, we do have the opportunity to lower those costs with the Recycle BC incentive if the ACRD would be able to contract the service to the city of Port Alberni directly rather than a contractor. But there's still a few unknowns related to the costing, and we'll work with the ACRD and try to dial down those costs as we move forward. And bring something to council that is reflective of the cost that we anticipate to provide the new 3-stream service if we do choose to recommend the option 1 to council in September. So we are looking at the most cost-effective delivery for the service. The city is looking at not only the cost, but also the reduction of the GHG emissions, which Jody mentioned earlier. Obviously, with 2 trucks picking up waste, that is additional trucks on the road, and we have these new trucks that we purchased to provide the ability to provide a service and have dual collection. So that is a benefit, and we will utilize our assets in a very cost-effective manner. So it's something that is a potential win-win if we can have. The service provided and find a way to provide the citizens with the lowest cost possible. So as mentioned in this graph here, we currently are sitting with 76% of our revenue covering the cost for the collection service for garbage right now. When it comes to our expenses, obviously it covers the operations and waste disposal. And currently, as mentioned, the IRF fund covers carts only. From the revenue that we receive for the waste service. Moving to option 1, at this time in our preliminary review with the ACRD, we'd look at a full cost model recovery, and that would have approximately $180 per year per resident, and that includes all 3 streams of waste. This is in alignment, if you look in the appendix, with many other communities. I think we're right in there, if not still a lower cost service compared to most across the region. And to provide this 100% recovery, it would allow us to recover the costs of providing that service rather than supplement our service delivery with taxation dollars. Also, the benefit of having the ACRD grant could avoid the cost of carts, which is a significant amount of funds, and just approximately about $1.5 million. And the option to have truck software to maximize and improve service, and obviously that would be something that would be a huge benefit to us as far as providing a most cost-effective and most efficient service. And obviously we have some contingency in the costing that we've included in option 1. There's some unknowns that we will try to dial in and find some firm costs so that we have good information for the council to make. And that's it for me.
Great, thank you. So now I'll take us just to have an overview of the multi-stream versus cart recycling. So Recycle BC provides a financial incentive for collection on a cost per household basis, depending on the collection methodology. So typically there's 3 methodologies: the automatic cart, the single stream recycling, or multi-stream recycling. So like I had mentioned, The cart-based recycling programs can lead to higher contamination rates opposed to the blue box program, as the manual collector can screen materials placed at the curb. As part of Recycle BC's requirements when transitioning to a cart plan, they do ask for a transition plan, which includes logistical details, of which some of this work is already currently underway. So they ask information regarding timelines, with a preference of a 6-month lead time. So with our target for spring 2021, we are on track with enough lead time there. Procurement of carts. So this is something we are currently drafting. And as far as the distribution of carts, we have included a social procurement principle or option, looking at the use of local community groups to help us with the cart deployment to generate some social and economic benefits as a result of the purchase of the carts. As far as education and outreach goes, we have started the planning for engagement. We're committed to developing a strong engagement strategy in order to create that desire and awareness of the new service. The engagement plan will focus on ensuring that we involve, engage, educate, and communicate to the community about the new waste services and the changes, also the benefits that it holds to the community. So the purpose of the pre-implementation engagement is that we create the waste management awareness and desire for participation. The outcome of this is that it builds buy-in and trust and helps us manage our residents' expectations. For pre-implementation, so this is to educate residents. So this stage, we want to let residents know what our diversion targets are, what the waste composition is, what's going to the landfill that shouldn't be, and what the benefits of an organic collection program can be. And furthermore, a potential 3-cart option model. This builds awareness about the project and will provide timelines in order to build support there. And really to ensure that residents have the information they need to use this service successfully. So this provides key educational components and really encourages the compliance from residents. And then as we implement the service, some of the key education material will be, as you can see from the bottom corner, so full sorting guides that can be distributed online into individual households. So this will include, like I said, sorting guides and cart placement information. We plan to hold information sessions, have digital platforms, and then we will, of course, send welcome packages when we deliver the new cart system. For implementation, once the program has been rolled out, we'd really like to see the use of waste audits, residential waste audits as a form of education. This informs both the resident and the city on what our waste composition is, what the diversion is, and what common mistakes we're seeing in the carts that we can use for education purposes. Visual cart audits combined with tagging. So tagging, an example there is in the top right corner. These are tactics to help identify common mistakes in a friendly way and educate residents on proper sorting and cart placement. And communicating these audit results through press releases or social media platforms will help participants as well. So training staff, this is another aspect of that transition plan for Recycle BC. The most significant benefit is really that the collection drivers for the city are very familiar and already trained in these trucks and with the automatic cart collection. So it'll be a minimal transition to adapt to the multi-stream cart pickup. We've talked a little bit about fleet software as part of the program development and future implementation, we're looking at options to include radio frequency identification. So this is RFID technology, which means that each cart per stream is equipped with its own unique identification tag that's linked to the residential address. And it really helps us measure compliance. So when a cart is picked up, the RFID is scanned. Once the container is dumped, if it's linked to contamination, it can link back to that address. It just helps us identify problem contamination as well. The trucks are also equipped with monitors inside, so we can see that real-time footage of material being dumped into the truck. It also helps with container status. So if a driver sees a cart that needs to be repaired or fixed, it can be scanned and be placed in the queue with the software. For non-compliant users, so for cart setouts that might not be at the proper cart setout time, it just provides that information as well. So that's something we're looking at to help us with monitoring and potential enforcement. Also with full containers, we get that real footage of overfull carts as well. And then just to give you an idea of what it looks like inside for the drivers, they do have the capability of seeing what contamination is going to the cart. And now with the RFID, we'll be able to link this to addresses if we like. Bit shaky, sorry. So that just gives you a bit of the bird's eye view from the truck. So to move along, some other considerations are cart sizes. So option one, we're going to look at going to a 120-liter garbage cart with a 240 recycling and a 240 organics with the wildlife proofing because of the food waste. And then option two, we'll look at the same size garbage cart, so the 120, and also the 240 organics for the wildlife proofing. And then most likely we'll move to the multi-stream two-tote system. And just to wrap it up on a positive note, so early in July, we held a survey at the landfill, and we interacted with 1,142 participants. And of those, 527 were from the city of Port Alberni. So some of the important stats here. So 73 were supportive of the current curbside services, which is fantastic, with a 20% that are unsupportive. From my perspective, this is a really good result and outcome. And another positive note or measure is that 59% are wanting to see curbside organics. So that's a nice positive response. So that wraps up my presentation. The next steps I just want to highlight. So we'll be seeking your support to proceed with one of these waste service options at the next board and council meeting. From there, we are hoping to issue some RFPs, so for cart procurement and possibly processing options. And then we'd like to begin with public engagement and communication, and then start with any of those amendments to the existing recycling contracts, Recycling BC, and proceed with that transition plan. So now I will welcome any questions or comments.
So just before we get into that, just a point of order. I did ask for a mover and a seconder for approval of the agenda, but I never did ask the group to approve the agenda. So All in favor of approving the agenda? Anybody opposed? Good, because that'd be really a stickler at this point in time. Okay, thank you. And so any questions here? We had a couple of hands up. Diane?
A couple of things I noticed in the information that we were given was that right now our recycling goes to Parksville and then it gets shipped out for consolidation. And then there was another session, a point made that perhaps we could have a local consolidation here. Now, I just wanted to know, cost-wise, would that be effective to bring down the cost as well?
Jenny, can I invite you to take that question?
Yeah, so if we were looking at a local consolidation site, which would make sense, that actually goes to Recycle BC. They're the ones who basically take over after we collect the material. Under our current collection contract, we will take it to a place that is within 50 kilometers of Port Alberni. There happens to be one in Parksville, so we have to take it there. It would be much more convenient for us to take it to a place that is local, and we could combine it here and then it can go straight to the mainland. They have a new hauler, GFL, who's just taken over, and I've pitched this idea to them and to Recycle BC, and it is something they're looking into, and it's something we might see in the next year or two, but also we may not. But I'm very hopeful because it would make sense environmentally, economically, all of those things. Unfortunately, it is outside of our control for the most part.
Thanks. One more question. I noticed that in option one, you were saying there was a lot of unknowns cost-wise, like there could be increased labor and overtime. And I'm just wondering, when you came up to that total, was that taken into consideration regarding what the cost was?
Yes, in those numbers, we have assumed that we will have to pay an additional price to take it at the landfill and then haul it from the landfill to Parksville. So that's included in our costing. We might save that money, but worst case scenario, it's already included.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have Helen Kuhn next.
Thank you. I really enjoyed that presentation and I thought the analysis was great. My question is there, I guess, the organics bin is quite large. Is there scope for the future to go to a bi-weekly model on that? Thank you.
I think initially, so we've gone to a bigger bin to allow for yard waste as well. Biweekly could be something to consider in the future. However, just to minimize the concerns about smells and odor, I think being picked up on a weekly basis and based on the scan with other local areas, weekly is the preferred option, but biweekly is something we could consider, maybe even for like the winter months as well.
Thank you.
So I've got a question of Jenny. The Beaver Creek, I think, is the only district that currently is involved in the regional district's recycling collection. How is this going to impact that contract?
So if we go with option one and the city takes over curbside recycling, our existing recycling contract ends on November 30th. So we would issue a contract for collection for Beaver Creek alone. And then phase 3, when we look at the Alberni Valley electoral areas, and we'll get started on that, we need to see if there is interest, will, and want to go to a collection for all of Beaver Creek, Sprout Lake, Cherry Creek for up to 3-string collection. Though that's a very much an unknown at this point. Phase 1 moving forward with the city is easy. We know that we've got support for that and we can move forward. We just have a lot of work to do for the electoral areas still.
So, and another question with regards to that, is there any thought put to voluntary collection or participation by individuals from the regional district, i.e. taking it to a location the organics to a location and a drop-off center for regional.
I think that there is in the original Tetra Tech report. I think one of the basics is self-haul organics. So once we have a facility locally, we can set up a bin at the landfill, and anyone who wants to can bring organics to drop off. But we don't have a facility to take it to just yet.
Okay. So any other questions out there? I've only got 9 on my screen, so you have to wave madly in order to get recognized. Okay, Deb Hager.
Thank you, John. I have a couple of questions, and it might be too early in the process to have answers to these, but I know a few years ago, the residents of the city of Port Alberni had to buy these bear-proof garbage cans. So they have to buy 3 new garbage bins now? Or can they still use the one that they have currently for garbage and then purchase 2 additional ones? Is that how that's going to work?
I can jump in on that one. So everyone has a garbage cart in the city that I think the city of Port Alberni has paid for and then billed the residents back for. With the
Right.
grant money, we will purchase the carts in option 1. We would purchase those carts. So the capital cost is covered and you wouldn't have to pay for that. The replacement price would be built into the annual bill that you pay. And so no individual would really see the price of a cart. Now with the bear proofing, some people have it, some people don't. I believe the city chose to make it optional. And I don't know what the numbers are. Andrew might know, or Brian might know how many people have it. But we're not, because some of them are bear proofed, we will have the organics container come automatically wildlife proofed. Recycling won't need it. And potentially those who already don't have bear proofing on their garbage can won't need it if they don't have a problem yet.
Perfect. That will help as well, because people don't like to pay out money, right? If they don't have to. A few years ago, the city did look at the possibility of biweekly garbage collection. And there was a big outpour of they wanted to stick to weekly. And the reasoning was a lot of young families with disposable diapers. So you might have to be prepared to respond to that. I mean, I'm for it, but you know, if you have diapers for 2 weeks, I could understand that reasoning. So be prepared for that. And also the higher cost of garbage collection that people are going to have to pay now. I think how communicating it to the public will be, you pay a little bit more now, or you're going to pay a lot more later if we don't extend the life of our landfill. And you may not even be able to get a landfill in a few more years. We don't know that, right? So, you know, let's pay a little bit now or a lot later. So I think explaining that really well to the public will help your cause. So yeah, I think that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Shannon, I think I saw your hand waving, I think.
Thank you. My questions actually were really similar to Director McNabb's. Just that if there was a self-haul ability for people if they wanted to bring organics rather than do curbside. And then my other question was, which is kind of similar to his question about Beaver Creek pickup, was if option 1 was chosen and it's kind of the city doing everything, if down the road when it goes to the West Coast or potentially the electoral areas in Bamfield in the future, if there's any cost kind of thought for that now, but from the sounds of it, that's too far ahead and we're not there yet. So thank you.
Okay, anybody else waving that I can't see? Okay, we do have a motion in front of us that we received this report. So somebody like to do that for us? And we'll vote on it this time.
Move receipt.
And seconder? Tanya? Okay, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Good, we're all good. Okay, no other late business that I understand, unless somebody has something. Okay, motion to adjourn. Come on, guys, I got Tanya and
Second.
Helen. And all in favor? Anybody opposed to that? Okay, we're good to go. Thank you very much. You're Lauren Hilton today?
Hey, John,
Yes,
who moved those? Helen, did Councillor Poon move those?
Director Shannon and Helen a second.
So she's allowed to move them at our meetings?
There's a good question.
I know.
I mean, with them are active participants at our meeting, I would think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
I mean,
like that, and then I'll check with Wendy
yeah,
later.
you
We can
might
always
be
change it.
checking that, so we can both
Yeah.
budget somehow, I think. Yeah, I never thought of that.
Yeah, it's just never happened before where, the counselors have.
Yeah.
Because it was an AV&B meeting and they were guests, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
we'll find out.
think this is a joint meeting of council and ACRD
Yeah,
with open participation.
okay,
So I think, I think it's phonetics. I don't think there's a problem with it.
okay, sounds
Okay.
good.
Talk to you.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.